The hell are you doing? Hi, readers. Wasn't talking to you. I was talking to my cat who's gotten into a note card. Anywho, welcome back to my channel, Lila Wanders and Reads, and welcome to my weekend books. Lee here, by the way. I am going to do something a little bit different this time. There are two books that I'm going to talk about that I really can't talk about in full with all my feelings unless I add some spoilers. And the cat's over there doing something. I don't know. And so I'm going to take the last few minutes of this video and talk about these books in full with spoilers. So if you want to skip out, I'll let you know when you can skip out on that. And otherwise, I will just talk very briefly about each of these books, and hopefully somebody won't keep making so much noise. He is having a good time. He is trying to get out the window, which is closed, by the way. Not that smart. Anywho, let's move on with it. So I'm going to go through all these books, and then again, I'm going to take the last few minutes to talk about spoilers on books 1 and books 3. I read 3 books in their entirety this week. I finished my audiobook, and I am taking a break from audiobooks. And I started 2 books that are not included here. I can't even talk about them as DNFs because I didn't even get far enough. So I picked them up, put them down, and finally hit on a book that's going to work for me. But let's get started. The first book I started and finished, and I love this cover, was Giovanni's Room. I think I ended up giving this 3 stars. I read this because the week before I read Swimming in the Dark by Thomas Jadrowski, and he mentions Giovanni's Room a lot. Comparatively, this is superior. Because the part of Swimming in the Dark that I really did not enjoy was the fact that I didn't feel anything for the characters except for not even mild annoyance. I just didn't feel anything. There was no connection. Whereas in Giovanni's Room, I felt a lot. Some of it was hatred, but again, I will get to more of that in the spoilers. This is exquisitely written. I am going to take a long break before I read any more James Baldwin, because although he is an excellent writer, in this book, he made me feel so bad. The main character is full of self-loathing and judgment, and so I took that in myself, and I was like, I can't feel that way anymore for a while. So, again, I do recommend this book, but if you want to know a few things going in, wait till you get to my spoilers. I'm actually probably going to have to find a part in here and take a few minutes and find a part that is critical, in my opinion, of this book. Guess I'm going to do that on camera. Oh, I did it. Okay, so after feeling so bad about Giovanni's Room, I knew I needed to finish the most recent book in the what is going to be a 4-book series of Rome, Kentucky, and that was Beg, Borrow, or Steal by Sarah Adams. Loved this book. I think I only gave this one 3 stars. And that is just because I don't know why. 4 stars. I think I only gave this 4 stars, not 5. I don't know why. There were so many literal LOLs, and this book made me weep a couple times. Okay, I'm just going to share this one part. So the male main character talks about why he hasn't gone into a bar since a certain day and why he goes in for the female main character. And then he goes, "You are not alone, Emily. I would walk through my worst memories to get to you every single time." And I wrote, God damn, this book is making me cry. And there's so many. I love these characters. I love all the characters in Rome, Kentucky. Probably the ones that feel less real to me are the ones from book 1, When in Rome, because I enjoyed that book and I think I gave it 4 stars. But Sarah Adams really won my heart with Practice Makes Perfect, which is up there for one of my favorite books of the year, and then Beg, Borrow, or Steal. I don't know why this is not on my favorite books. We'll see how I feel at the end of February, but I loved this book. So, I've got a little mess. Next book is the other book that I really can't talk about without spoilers. Eowyn Ivey has written 2 other books, The Snow Child and To the Bright Edge of the World. I have both of those, but I picked this up because it was a new release this past week, and I decided I'll just start with this one. This is, from everything I saw on Goodreads, a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. There's a lot of magical realism. What is exquisite to me is the Alaskan scenery. Between this and The Great alone, I'm wanting to move to Alaska knowing I am not equipped to live up there, even in a town. It's just too cold. But I was there in my mind. So again, I will talk more about this book and what I thought about this book. I think I gave this 4 stars as well. This is a book I really don't have a lot of words for until the spoilers, but I woke up thinking about it, and I had to reread the ending, and I sat on it and sat with it and sat with it. And it's kind of, in that sense, reminds me of Hawk Mountain by Conor Habib, which I originally didn't like when I put it down, and I woke up the next morning thinking about it. I reread the ending, and I thought about it and thought about it and thought about it, and ended up being one of my favorite books of all time. So this could be that. I don't know. I've just lost for words. So, which is usually a sign that I really love the book. So, those are the 3 books that I started and finished. Yesterday, after 2 hard days of going while I was doing chores, I finished the audiobook of Bolivar. And I would like to thank my colleague for sending me this, because had I not read this, and I zoned out in places because it is an audiobook and I tend to do that, especially when I'm driving. I really just learned a lot about South America and a part of the world that I had not known any history of. So, really glad to have finished this. I am taking a break from audiobooks right now. I'm going to jam out in the car, maybe find a podcast to listen to, whatever. Anything I want. I just don't want to be tied to a book because sometimes I feel like I need to be free. Next up, nonfiction. I made little to no progress on The Coming of the Third Reich by Richard J. Evans. This is a purse book, which means I read it when I have time. And I had 2 days off this week, and I did not... When I have days off, I read less than on days that I work. Even though on work days, I read in the evenings, and I have a whole day off, and I just don't read because I'm busy doing stuff around the house or out in town. So anyway, my goal is to finish this by the end of the month, and I need to get on it because I've got a lot. I only really have, because this is where the notes start, I only really have that much, but I need to get on it and maybe make some time to focus on that. But I've got a lot more that I've got to do before the end of the month. One of them's not over here. It's a book club book for the in-person book club that I participate in. I've got to read that next week. This week, I am working on The Bloody Chamber, which is for an online book club I participate in. I read the night before last. I read the first short story in this collection. It's the titular story, The Bloody Chamber. I don't know what I think about this. The jury's out for me. I do know, had I not read Carmilla, there's some references in here that would have been completely lost on me. And I will probably do a little online research on the Bloody Chamber because I bought this decades ago, and I know this is a canon in feminist literature, and I just need to have something to kind of work with me on it. So I think I mentioned at the beginning that, so after Blackwood's Blue Sky, I had a book in mind, and I changed my mind. I did not even pick that one up. I picked up one based on a recommendation that I saw online. It looks fascinating, looks right up my alley, but it was not working for me. And I got probably 2-3 chapters in, and I just put it down because I wasn't interested. It couldn't keep my attention. And I started to worry about myself, and I picked up another book that I've had. Again, great premise, and execution was okay, but it was YA, and I love YA, but it couldn't catch my attention either. So finally, on a whim, I just went to a bookshelf, and I picked up The Changeling by Victor Laval. I've had this for a long time, and I've read the first sentence many times, but I picked it up, and this time I read the sentence, "This fairy tale begins in 1968 during a garbage strike." And for some reason, it hit differently. Probably because in January, I read Colson Whitehead's The Nickel Boys, and in The Nickel Boys, there's a garbage strike as well. So for some reason, it clicked, and then I kept reading, and about here, I was like, oh no, before here. I love the backstory, Lillian's backstory, of being from Uganda and why she had to leave. So this is just hitting all the right notes. Now, I did not get much read yesterday because, again, it was Saturday, and I'm recording this on Sunday. And I have a lot of chores that I had to get done over the weekend. I still have more. And so I just didn't make time to sit down. And tonight, when I'm recording this, is Super Bowl Sunday, so I'd be surprised if I get anything read in this either. I've still got chores to do, I've got to get my exercise in because I'm trying really hard to stay on that, and today's going to be a nice day, tomorrow's going to be shitty and cold, so I want to go outside and walk today. So I probably won't get too far on this, but hopefully Monday night I'll make get a good chunk read in it. So, I think that is it for my regular books read. So it's time for spoilers. If you stuck with me this far and don't want to go any further, thank you for sticking with me on my journey, and happy reading. If you want to hear my spoilers, let's go. We're going to start with this one. So, I'm going to read you, without my glasses, what it's about. Bertie's keeping it together. Of course she is. So she's a little hungover sometimes, and she has to bring her daughter, Emmeline, to her job waiting tables in an Alaska roadside lodge. Still, she's getting by as a single mother in a tough town. But Bertie can remember happier times from her youth, when she was free in the wilds of nature. So I wanted to start off that to get me started. So we've got Bertie and Arthur. Arthur's a soft-spoken and scarred recluse who appears in town only at the change of seasons. Spoiler. Arthur is a bear. He was found as a changeling, I guess, when he was young by his parents. That part is fucking heartbreaking. But you've got Bertie and Arthur, and both of them are stuck in this small town in their different ways, and stuck in boxes in different ways. And so Bertie goes off to live with Arthur up in the mountains, and everybody is against it. Everybody's like, you're going to harm this child. Emmeline, I think, is like 6. I wondered at the beginning why there was 2 point of views. I know now, I'm fucking scarred. So, it's idyllic during the summer-ish, and Emmeline catches on to what Arthur is early on by accident, and Bertie doesn't believe it until she does. And then one day, so like I said, Emmeline's kind of sick. One day, Emmeline gets too careless while Arthur is a bear. Arthur comes out after her, and he ends up killing Bertie. And I guess, so setting aside the whole retelling of Beauty and the Beast, I guess what I got from this is, and I saw it referenced, I might tear up, again later, is that sometimes love can kill you. And this is a beautiful way to tell that story. And what I got from it was that no matter how Bertie tried to, like, once she realized Arthur was a bear, she wanted him to be a bear, and she didn't listen to nature's warnings that the beast was still a beast and that they can be dangerous. And Arthur did, on his behalf, try to not be a bear, but he couldn't help what he was inside. And I think that metaphorically, maybe she didn't mean it this way, but that's what I took from it. So Bertie's dead. Emmeline is too young to realize that. She goes out to try to get help, but it's too late. So then the next thing you know, it jumps really far into the future. And I don't remember, Emmeline's grown now. And she says, she remembers back like only a child can, is that all she remembers is that she left her mother to die alone in the woods, and she'd done nothing but run away. That's not true. So she has gone to live with her Aunt Liz in another place and decides to come back to Alaska one last time, or before she goes on with her life. I think she knows she can't move on with her life. And she finds Walter and this awesome character whose name I forget, but he was like book reading and quoting, and he's the, I guess the name that he's what named the title. I'm not losing my words. And so Warren lets her know that no, you didn't run away. And there was something else I wanted to reference in this. So anyway, Emmeline gets there. She realizes that Warren and the guy whose name I forgot, Sid, have pinned up Arthur, who is all full-time bear now. And she kind of tries to get to know Arthur. There doesn't seem to be much left in... There doesn't seem to be much left for Arthur, both of as what remained of him as a man and or human, and much left life in him. And sure enough, there's not. And so this is, I guess, at the end, Emmeline is coming to terms with her past and saying goodbye to Arthur and the bear and her mother. And now I want to cry, because I really do think this was a beautiful book. I think I would love to talk to somebody about it who read it and who didn't mind if I just had a little Kleenex with me. This may go up there as one of my favorites. We'll see how I feel about it in the end of the month. I'm glad I got to talk that out with you, because it helped me kind of figure some things out in my mind that I couldn't quite do just thinking about it. 1950s Paris. David has just proposed marriage to his American girlfriend. But while she's on her way on a trip, he does what he's always done and loves to do, and that fuck around with a bartender named Giovanni. Giovanni is real and true. David is a fucking asshole. I hate David so much. This back of this book says, James Baldwin's classic narrative delves into the mystery of love. I don't get that from it. And tells a deeply moving story that reveals the unspoken complexities of the human heart. Okay, whatever. David was so obnoxious that I just couldn't stand him. I want to tell you how I feel about. So at the end of the day, David's fiance comes back, and he of course ditches Giovanni, and Giovanni then has nothing. And then David goes around, because he can't deal with himself and who he really is. He starts screwing around, leaves his fiance for a couple days. She finds him, and he was like, well, now you know. And the shame and the loathing, self-loathing in this made it a difficult read. I'm not a gay man, so I don't know, especially not one in the 50s, so I don't really understand David. But I didn't feel the same about Giovanni. I liked Giovanni. I understood a little bit more about him. I think that there was some shame and self-loathing to Giovanni as well. He talks about having a girlfriend, and they had a stillborn child, and then he leaves them and comes to Paris, and I gotta find this part. I think Giovanni really hits the nail on the head. And this is the closest I can find right now. This is him talking to David when at the end, David's abandoned him, doesn't even say goodbye, just goes back to whatever her name is. Hella Hella. So, what are you doing? This is Giovanni. What are you doing all the time? And why do you say nothing? You were evil, and sometimes when you smiled at me, I hated you. I wanted to strike you. I wanted to make you bleed. You smiled at me the way you smiled at everyone. You told me what you told everyone. And you tell nothing but lies. What are you always hiding? And do you think I did not know when you made love to me, you were making love to no one? No one, or everyone, but not me, certainly. I am nothing to you, nothing, and you bring me fever, but no delight. I feel like this is the closest I can find about what Giovanni says. But at the end, here it is. Here it is. You do not, cried Giovanni, sitting up, love anyone. You have never loved anyone. I'm sure you never will. You love your purity. You love your mirror. Right there. That right fucking there. You are just like a little virgin. You walk around with your hands in front of you as though you had some precious metal, gold, silver, rubies, maybe diamonds down there between your legs. You will never give it to anybody. You will never let anyone touch it, man or woman. You want to be clean. You think you came here covered with soap, and you think you will go out covered with soap. And you do not want to stink, not even for 5 minutes in the meantime. See, right there. And I could go on, but fair use. Or maybe, oh my God. Everything Giovanni says about David is true. David wants to be something that he's not. He can't embrace who he is. And I get having to be in the closet. But David's obnoxious about it. He doesn't even allow himself to love. And Jacques at the beginning says something similar. So I know I've gotten a little passionate about this, but I hate David. I like Jacques. I like Giovanni. I understand why Giovanni strangled the one dude. And I learned that they're still using the guillotine in the 50s in France. I did not know that. So, again, needed to talk that out. Everybody else is a true character. They embrace their flaws. Even if they have to be in the closet, they know who they are. And they are not... they're afraid to be it. And they don't maybe like to be it. But they're not as sanctimonious and self-loathing as David. And so that is why I have to give myself some space from James Baldwin, but I'll say this. Any author that can make me despise a character that much, it's good writing and a good read. Anywho, that is it for me. If you stuck with me during the spoilers and my little passionate rant about David, thank you for sticking with me on this journey. And as always, happy reading.